don't want them to do mail-in ballots because it's going to lead to total election fraud. And then they say, oh, there's no voter fraud in our country. There's no voter fraud. The Democrats are also trying to rig the election by sending out tens of millions of mail-in ballots, using the China virus as the excuse for allowing people not to go to the polls.
So an analogy that I like to use is auto theft, right? So it is certainly the case that your car might be stolen. It is the case, too, that in some places there are rings of people that go around and steal cars. It is not the case, however, that there is a national effort, a huge conspiracy to steal hundreds of thousands of cars, strip them for parts, and sell them, right? Donald Trump likes to point at isolated incidents, isolated car thefts, and say, hey, look, there must therefore be millions, hundreds of thousands, or millions of votes which are stolen and cast illegally each year.
Where's the evidence of it?
I think there's a lot of evidence, but we'll provide you with some, okay?
There's simply no evidence for that. There's no evidence of widespread efforts to commit voter fraud at that scale, and there's no evidence that you could even do so without it being detected.
Now that an incident of very real voter fraud has become national news, I've been focused for decades on protecting the integrity of elections. So I'd like to welcome my friends on the left to their new realization. They've just discovered that this subject really matters.
Pew Research Center, for example, just released some data showing that Republicans are now more skeptical of mail-in voting than they had been in the past. You know, in general, this is something that is unwarranted as a concern. That said, having people be skeptical of mail-in voting this year in particular is something which obviously is disadvantageous for Republicans.
Isn't it amazing the way they say there's no voter fraud? Folks, it's a rigged system, and it's a rigged election, believe me.
There's nothing that Donald Trump likes less than losing. And so when he first started talking about voter fraud in 2016, before the election, he was doing so to set the table, to essentially say, hey, if I lose, here's why. Voter fraud in Pennsylvania, these people cast ballots illegally. Lo and behold, he wins in 2016. But he loses the popular vote. So what does he start doing? Oh, it was voter fraud in California and New Hampshire, and that's why I lost those states. California, that's why I lost the popular vote, because millions of illegal immigrants came out and voted, which is both nonsensical and there's no evidence for it. So what we're seeing again is when he talks about, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to accept the results of the election, when he talks about there being rampant voter fraud, when he talks about mail-in balloting being problematic, he is fundamentally making the same case. He is saying, hey, if I lose this thing, it's not my fault, giving himself the excuse and allowing him to continue to say that he is the winner that he likes to present himself as.